Now, moving on to pivot tables. So, what are pivot tables basically? Uh, Very important topic. Every time they will ask you two questions from Excel. Most of the times, I mean, if they are done with all the Python, SQL, things like that, they will always ask just two questions. Do you know VLOOKUP? Do you know HLOOKUP? What is the difference between VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP? What are the things that you write down in VLOOKUP? What is the first element that you write in VLOOKUP? First element in HLOOKUP? Okay. Which element, which particular element is different between VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP? So these are the questions that they will ask. If they are satisfied with that, they will ask you about pivot table. Do you know how to create a pivot table? That's all. Now, if you want to create a pivot table, just select all the data that you have. Okay. Insert, go to pivot table, click on OK. Okay. What it will do is it will create a pivot table and it will give you all the options that you have in your destination data. So I've just selected destination data and I went to insert, clicked on pivot table, and then took the data in, and it will transform your data to another sheet. You have the option if you want to create a pivot table, and if you want to see the data and do things right in the same sheet. If you have smaller data, you can do this thing. So click on existing worksheet. Okay. After selecting all the data, just click on pivot table and then click on existing worksheet and then click on any of the rows. So I'm selecting this particular cell and then click on OK. So now your pivot table is right in front of you, right here. Okay. Okay. Now I want to see, I want to divide data, okay, in terms of all the order ID, okay, and see the amount of order IDs. Okay. Now, instead of filtering it, so what we were doing is here, we were filtering data, okay, and seeing, we discussed that 391 rows for high and 398 for low and things like that. So now if you click on pivot, if you want to create a pivot table, what will happen is if you want to get that information, you can directly get it from pivot table. So, and you can get the information of order ID as well. So if you want, this is optional order ID, but yeah, I'll just showcase. So this is order ID. Okay. All the rows. And suppose if you want order priority, you put it in the column. Okay. And then again, if you want to put uh, the order ID again, you can put that. Okay. And instead of sum, take the count, click on OK. And then you can see that one particular order ID has different values. And this you can see critical. That is also, I mean, it's a problem with the data. I think there are two criticals. So that's why it is coming like that. Okay. I think there's a difference between I mean, the spaces that it has created. So that also, that this is basically a problem which we can remove if the critical is same in the data. Okay, we'll
Maybe
look that as
critical, one of the critical column has null value. Is it?
well. Maybe I haven't actually seen. No, I don't think. No, it has values.
Okay.
So yeah, it is a case of like one critical is having. See, if you click on, it has just one space. Maybe it will give me. Yeah, it doesn't have any space. So that is the problem. So one critical is critical with a space. As you can see, there's a space, and the other critical is just critical without any space. Okay. Okay. This problem has arisen, so we will see a solution of this as well. Okay. So what will if in this case there is a function called trim. What you can do is just use equal to trim, basically a formula, and then click on K2. Okay. Because we want to trim down this particular bit, then close the bracket. Okay. And then just use it for all the rows, then copy it and then paste it. When you go to paste, just paste values in paste special, remove this one. Okay. Now, if you have data, then refresh, then you can see the other critical has gone. Cool.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah, got
want
it.
to expand again or got it? Got it, right? So just use trim function, copy paste it in the same destination, and then just refresh your pivot, and then it will give you. So the problem, sometimes this problem is basically the most common problem you will face. You will have one space and you will have one, uh, I mean, one value will not have space, one value will have space. And you have, if you want to treat it like that, then you use trim function to treat it. And then you will have all the values, right? But now it's not giving me the concrete information that we want. So just remove order ID, just take it outside, and then what will happen is it will give you count of order ID. So instead of just taking the values like 391, 398, things like that, it will give you all, and you will have a grand total as well, which you can see. Now, this for the sum, I mean, for the count. If you want to take the average value, you can take the average value from here as well. So just take average, click on OK, and it will give you the average value, right? So you can perform mathematical operations on top of this as well, right? Now let's see how to create another view and then how to link it with a chart. And I think in today's lecture we would be able to cover that part as that part only. So yeah, but very important. I mean, data analysis. Obviously, we'll discuss tomorrow and how we can do data analysis on top of the information data we have. But in terms of like, there are two things that is possible for your interview. One is like, most of your interview will be around Python, SQL, machine learning, things like that. And then they will just ask you, do you know Excel? Do you know about VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, and obviously pivot table and pivot charts? These things, or else they will either ask you this, or will give you a home task to do a data analysis on Excel, if they predominantly use Excel. Okay. And there's no shame in using Excel, even if you know high-end technologies. First of all, it's very handy and it's very useful. Most of the data scientists still use it. So even if you're doing it and you are earning a lot of money, it's not a problem. Okay. So yeah, going to the sales information, if I want. So remove the count of order ID as well, and let's see the values of sales. And if I want to see which city has highest number of sales and how, and things like that, so remove order priority as well and see. So, and then if I want, I can like sort it out from largest to smallest. And then you can see that Los Angeles has a New York, Washington, and these cities. And the highest sales have been, it has been sorted from highest to lowest, and things like that. So there are a lot of cities. I should have taken state instead of cities, right? Yeah, cool. So state, and now, yeah, you can see that there are numbers lying like that. If you want to see divided into column, like a particular value in terms of like separators, you can do that as well. Okay. And then if you want to sort it, okay, sort it from largest to smallest, you can do that, and see that California state, New York state are the highest business revenue givers, and basically all the other states are following. Now this is giving me one particular information, that which particular state is basically giving me the highest number of sales. Okay. And then the other states are following it. Okay. If we want to do it in ascending order as well, you can do that. Obviously, you have more sorting option as well, you can explore that. If you don't want some of it, If you want average sales, you can do that average as well. Okay, it's already there, like it's already and if you want to sort it again, it's already sorted, I think. Yeah, so now it has changed. District of Columbia has average number of sales more because of the row IDs, and the values on District of Columbia is more basically. So row IDs, the number of orders are less, but the amount of the value of the sales is more. So District of Columbia is more. And so if you want to take the average sales, and if you want to see, you can do that as well. If you want to like explore more and see the max and minimum, you can do that. You can do the product as well. And if you want to show values in right now, it is no calculation. You can do a percentage of grand total, column total, things like that. So what I would say is, let's select the sales again. So, or maybe select profit instead. You can select sales as well as many times if you want. It will just give you just to show it to you. If you select sales again, so it is now giving you sum of sales, right? If you want sum and average, you can do that. If you want both average, it will give you average of sales too. That's all. It will identify as the second column. That's all. But if you want, you can keep sum and average of sales as well. And if you want, you can put profit as well. Now this is giving me three different metrics. Okay. Average of sales, sum of sales, and sum of profit. Now, I don't want sum of profit. Instead, I would like to get the percentage of grand total or column total. And in this case, it will be the same. So percentage of grand total of all the states which are having some profit. So it is the percentage of profit that we are getting. And this is the pivot in which you'll get these three information. So things like that you can do. So just by dragging and dropping things and doing mathematical operations, you can sort it in a smaller chunk of data and get all the information that you want. It is very handy for doing data analysis. Pivot table is most widely used function of Excel when we do data analysis. And then if you want to like create a deck and showcase it to your client that in a particular chart or something, you can go to insert and select, in this case, I would go with the bar chart. And then you can see, obviously percentage will not be very clear, but you can see, and even the sum of sales is high, but average is not so high. But yeah, you can see that there are values. Okay. So just to be very clear in this particular bit, instead of um, yeah, let's take the count. That is also getting very low. Yeah. Let's see. Instead of taking the count average, what we can do is just to showcase it to you that yeah, we can see it in the graph as well. So we'll take count and we'll remove the sum of sales. And then if you see the profit percentage and the count of sales, you can see that as well. So again, the sum of profit is percentage is coming down. So I'll just remove the calculation from here. No calculation. Then you can see that, yeah, the profit is going up and down. Count of sales is again. So there are no two metrics which are very similar to it. Let me see quantity. Let's say remove everything and take quantity. And then again take quantity. And let's see, let's summarize it with average value. It is giving me some value, but it is not showing again in this case. But yeah, you can see there are, if I just expand it, you can see that there are some values which is there in the color. There will be a color coding here, legend, sum and average of the quantity, things like that you can do. So what is the difference between this pivot chart and normal chart? So this I wanted to explain as well. We'll talk about this in data analysis thing, and we'll talk about this in other part of like how I'll select. I just wanted to showcase the pivot table, how to create a pivot table and pivot chart right now. That's why there are things that are not highlighting properly. I'll find a data which will be very relevant to showcase a chart as well. Don't worry, in the data analysis part tomorrow. But for now, you got a feeling that yeah, this is particular data pivot table, and this particular pivot chart is created from pivot table. What we can do is we can see the difference between the charts if we want. So instead of this pivot table, if I click on another sheet and copy paste the data, okay, this is not pivot table. So once you there's this difference. If you click on pivot table, okay, these things will come up. So, and the pivot table fields will come up. Okay. If it's not a pivot table, okay, pivot table fields will not come up. Now, again, you can use the same insert function to draw a graph. Okay. Like, see, let's see about this. But there will be some differences in the chart. Okay. You won't get that dynamic feeling. You won't get that like mm, information that you were getting. Like information wise, it will be the same, but you won't
Label
get that
description is not coming.
description. Yeah, a lot of things will change. Like so basically, it won't give you that dynamic feeling that you want. So that's why pivot table creation and then using that pivot table chart is basically more important. Like it is per se, it is important in terms of showcasing it to your client. uh, and there are two things in it. So if you create a pivot table, then that gives a sense of security to your client as well. So right now you can't change value in pivot, right? If I want to do it, it will give you an alert that we can't change this part of the pivot table. So but here you can, right? If you want to like give false information and like write anything by copy pasting the data, then obviously you can do that, and your client won't be able to verify it. Or if they want to verify it, they have to go back to the data source or data engineering team. Now in the pivot table, they'll have that sense of security that no, data has not changed. Okay, whatever graph that I am showcasing it to my client, okay, basically it will showcase the same values. Okay, so instead of that, you can see the line graph. But yeah, again, it's a mostly flat line because the average value is very low. That's all. So this information is basically unique, unaltered. But in that information, you can see that that information is not unique. It is altered. It can be altered. There are few things which are not dynamic in this. So we'll discuss about it at length tomorrow also. But yeah, it is a good practice to create a pivot table and give the screenshot of pivot table as well as the chart, or like you have the option of copy pasting it as a table in your Microsoft PowerPoint as well. Apologies for this one. It is going back and forth because of the um, yeah, because of the sync issue with the Mac and Microsoft applications. So that's the problem. But if you'll try it in your laptops, it won't fade away. It won't go away. Yeah. So if you have a Windows, so that's the thing. But yeah, it's always a good practice to use pivot table and pivot charts and showcase it to your client. You can directly copy it from here and then paste it in your, say, pivot PowerPoint. So if I'm creating a new slide basically, and then I'm pasting it, yeah, you can see that they they can select data points and see if they want to add data labels, they can do that from here as well. Okay, and this is possible only because you have selected a pivot chart, and then you can just copy paste it into your deck basically if you want to give a PowerPoint presentation. And then if they want to see the values, they can do that. If they don't want to, they don't want to, fine. You want to remove it, just remove it, things like that. Okay, so this was about the pivot table and pivot chart. We'll discuss about we'll discuss about pivot table and how to use that pivot table and do data analysis further tomorrow as well. Okay,